you know, so sometimes things are tricky, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit more difficult than just making the fight happen. But like I said, I'm pushing to make the biggest and best fights happen. And
is it really possible that the feared Mexican powerhouse, who spent years pursuing a fight with Canelo, would pass on a massive showdown with a current pound-for-pound king Terence Crawford?
Turkey tweeted after the Canelo Crawford fight, asking like, hey, could you maybe come down to 168?
Yet almost as fast as the speculation exploded, David Benvdz stepped in and cooled everything down. The explanation he offered caught many off guard. Behind his surprising decision was a carefully mapped strategy that reshapes how we view his next chapter. This was more than a simple career choice. It felt like a closing statement on everything that came before, and a signal that he intends to chase his own unfinished business on a different stage. September 13th delivered a charged atmosphere as Terence "Bud" Crawford achieved what many thought impossible, stepping up in weight and breaking down the legendary Canelo Alvarez.
He hurt Canelo a couple of times, and he looked spectacular. Congratulations to Terence Crawford for that great performance, and man, it was a great fight.
Were you expecting more from Canelo?
I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting Canelo to knock out Crawford, to be honest with you, because it's a three-weight divisions. Well, he did fight one time, the higher division, but and to me, it's three ways, you know. He had to go up a lot in weight, and that's what I was expecting. But at the end of the day, you know, I got to give respect to Canelo. You know, he has done so much in boxing that it will be hard for somebody else to achieve and make. He trained hard, you know, and he said that he tried, but the body did not respond. And I've been saying that, you know, the body is worn out, you know. Canelo is young, but in boxing life, he's worn out.
As the boxing world was still absorbing Crawford's brilliant display, Turkey Alashik moved quickly. He posted a brief question on social media asking whether David Benvdz could still make 168 pounds. And just like that, talk of a massive showdown took off. Benavidez, the unbeaten two-time champion with 30 victories, including 24 knockouts, had long been viewed as the division's most feared force and the opponent many believed Canelo avoided for years. A matchup between Crawford's elite precision and Benavidez's raw power felt like the obvious and explosive next step. Fans were eager, the financial backing was there, and one of the sport's most influential promoters was clearly hinting at it.
What I said to you earlier, I think Terence is really funny. I love the way he lives his life. I love the way he brings his kids. You know, if you watch his kids with the wrestling and stuff like that, he's just a winner. And I feel that, you know, you got guys who are really, really, really good, and they're not really hell bent on becoming a star. I put you in that category. I put Terence in that category. Maybe Shakur, where they feel like they don't really want to, like, Terence ain't bothered about going to premieres and, you know, like being on the front cover of magazines and stuff like that. But unfortunately, in the business, we have to try and make sure he has that kind of value commercially. So it's getting the narrative and the moments right to just showcase his personality a little bit.
But what looked like the perfect matchup suddenly hit an unexpected wall. David Benvdz ended the rumors with a statement that left no room for confusion. In an interview with Fight Hub TV, he made his stance completely clear. He said he is finished with the super middleweight division and has no plans to return to 168 pounds.
Bro, my plan is after this fight, I want to go down to 154. Nah, bro. I'm done with cruiserweight. You know, I want to take this opportunity, though. Yes, I said cruiserweight.
I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Crawford. He put on a whole of a performance. He's up there with Mount Rushmore of the greatest fighters of all time. Let Crawford do his thing, bro. At the end of the day, I have no interest in fighting Crawford. I have no interest in fighting at 168 inches.
You know, I want to take this opportunity, though. Yes, I said cruiserweight. I want to take this opportunity to, you know, congratulate Crawford. You know, he put a hell of a performance. He's up there in the Mount Rushmore of the greatest fighters of all time. And, you know, let Crawford do his thing, bro. You know, at the end of the day, I have no interest in fighting Crawford. I have no interest in going down to 168. I mean, yeah, it's nice that it would be dope winning all titles, but I'm way past that at 168.
His stance left no room for doubt. This was not a strategy to raise leverage in talks, but a firm decision. He ended any remaining speculation by saying he would not return to 168 even for a Canelo fight, and made it clear he was being completely honest. He acknowledged that 168 belongs to Crawford now, and repeated that his time in that division is over.
You know, I would follow the only reason I wouldn't even go down to 168 for Canelo, and I'm just being real with you, you know, and let Crawford do his thing, let him have his, let him. I want to give his flowers, man, because he's a great fighter, man. There's no other fighter that's coming up from 147 to beat a type of fighter like Canelo at 168, and Crawford, he's one of the greatest of all time. So, I have no interest in going down to 168. I'm not saying that I'm scared of Crawford or whatever, but Crawford's a man at 168. That's his weight class. I'm done with 168.
When asked if an enormous $120 million offer could convince him to return, he firmly rejected the idea. He made it clear that the decision has nothing to do with financial reward, but with a deeper purpose guiding his path forward.
Boxing is a business, David. If they throw 100 million, 120 million to go down for either or, would you second?
20 million sounds good, but honestly, at the end of the day, no. No.
Say no to 100 million.
But they won't give 120 million. I don't even think Canelo got 120 million for fighting Crawford, to be honest with you. But no, man, I'm done with 168.
The real reason behind Benavidez's choice reaches beyond the physical strain of making weight. It marks a calculated shift toward a more ambitious phase of his career. He is not avoiding a tough fight. He is aiming for a different and possibly greater challenge.
Throw whatever money they want at me. And my job is not only to get the money. My job is to give myself the best chance to win and to give myself the best chance of looking good.
Benavidez has settled into the light heavyweight division at 175 pounds and is targeting the top names in that weight class. His current priority is a major showdown with Britain's Anthony Yarde, set to be held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Let me know how this fight came about, because I was surprised that you went this route with Yarde.
Yeah, so there was a lot of options on the table. Obviously we wanted to get a great fight because the last fight with me and David Benvdz lived up to expectation. I think it exceeded expectations. So we wanted to give the fans a good fight. We were in line for Bivol for the belts, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So we were looking, to get a crowd pleasing fight, and we're trying to fight the best in the division of 175. If it's not the champions, we want to fight the next best guys. We were looking at some options, but the only one that really manifested itself was the fight with Anthony Yarde, and I think this is a crowd-pleasing fight. Anthony Yarde, he's a great fighter. He still has a ton of fight in him. He's been in there with Artur, Beterbiev, Kovalev. So he's been up there with the top guys, and I feel like this is probably going to be the most he comes prepared for any fight, because he's lost his last two title fights, and I feel like he knows that this is probably the last opportunity. Not his last opportunity, but this is, he has to take advantage of this opportunity. So I'm not taking Anthony Yarde lightly. I know he has a dog in him. I know he has a lion in him, but I have the lion in me as well. So this is going to be a perfect fight for my first fight with Riyadh season.
He views this opportunity as a platform to elevate his profile worldwide, and more importantly, as a crucial step toward reaching the summit of the 175-pound division.
Like I said, I'm very grateful for this, and not only am I grateful for fighting with Riyadh season, but I'm grateful because I don't want to just be a regional fighter. I want to be a worldwide fighter, and this is the first time I'm going to fight in a different country, in Saudi Arabia. So this is going to be it's going to be a gift for the fans in Saudi Arabia. When I went over there the first time to see Bivol and Beterbiev fight, a lot of people show love, and I know I have a lot of fans out there. So, this is going to be a great fight for all the fans in Saudi Arabia.
Benavidez is confident that he will win, and that triumph would move him closer to the division's most dangerous champions, Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. In his view, the road to building his legacy no longer runs through the weight class he once dominated, but through defeating the elite fighters waiting at light heavyweight. He is pursuing lasting achievement rather than just financial rewards, and believes his true greatness will be defined at 175 pounds.
You're in this weight division, 175 pounds. You have the undisputed champion in Dmitry Bivol, who's reigning, but he has we think a rubber match with Artur Beterbiev scheduled at some point. Has it been told to you, David, that if you win this fight, you're going to get a crack at either Bivol or Beterbiev?
I mean, yeah, it's not, they haven't told me specifically that, but, you know, I mean, just in the trajectory of what I'm doing, what I am, you know, I'm world champion at 175 with the WBC, so it's inevitable. It's just when it's going to happen. You know what I mean? I take my career one fight at a time. You know what I mean? I don't really let other fights kind of get into my brain. You know, I'm getting ready for Anthony Yarde. I'm 100% focused on Anthony Yarde, and whatever comes next, comes next. But as for what I'm thinking of, you know, that's, what else is there left? What other fights you guys want to see me fight? You know what I mean? Especially that we're here with Turki Al-Sheikh. We're getting these fights done. In my opinion, a fight with Beterbiev or Bivol is next. You know what I mean?
But Benavidez wasn't the only one closing the door on this potential blockbuster. In a surprising turn, Terence Crawford's team showed little interest in pursuing the fight. Crawford's respected trainer Brian Bullmark McIntyre quickly dismissed the idea that Benavidez was next. When questioned about the matchup, he was direct, saying, "No, we ain't doing that fight." He emphasized that their focus is on giving Crawford time to rest and recover after an intense 6-month training camp for the Canelo bout.
You know what? We're going to get back in the gym. We're going to get back in the gym, and we're going to assess that. And, you know, right now I just want him to go on vacation, have some fun, spend time with his family, man, because we trained for like probably a half a year for that fight. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of time spent away from home, a lot of time spent away from the family. So I just want him to just go get back home. Yeah.
In fact, he wanted Crawford to take a break and enjoy time with his family rather than rush into talks for another grueling fight. Bullmark's remarks uncovered an important insight. This matchup was never truly on Crawford's radar. The story wasn't only about Benavidez turning down the challenge. It highlighted that both top fighters are following separate paths, with neither team considering the other an immediate priority.
The need for Benavidez.
Canelo?
Turkey, you know, people are talking about it.
Turkey hinted at that. He was like, Benavidez.
Yeah, he
Turkey,
did.
so.
Turkey just posted that this morning, wondering if Benavidez can make 168. Maybe he has plans or ideas of maybe trying to match up Benavidez and Terence Crawford.
No. That fight.
Maybe planning on vacating the belts.
No, we ain't gonna vacate the belts. You know, we just gonna sit where we need to sit for a minute, and then, just like I said, get back in the gym and do our thing.
To grasp Benavidez's thinking, you have to consider the long and frustrating pursuit of Canelo Alvarez. Canelo was bigger, younger, and constantly aggressive, and many felt he was the one opponent Canelo actively avoided. That prolonged and unproductive chase appears to have left Benavidez disillusioned with the 168-pound division. His move up in weight isn't just a professional decision. It's an emotional release. He's done waiting.
You know, I think the type of person that Canelo is, he's going to be, oh, well, I didn't prepare for that fight, but now I'm prepared, this and that. You know, there's another storyline behind that. Because of the way he lost. He didn't go in there and get just beat up and destroyed the whole fight. It just didn't look like he prepared at all. And the fighter that was prepared, was Crawford. So, there could still be a big storyline, 175. Like I said, he could say, oh, well, now I'm motivated. Now I have a reason to train, now this and that. And it'll be a title fight for 175. So, everything is still possible right now. And Canelo, what is he, like 35?
So I think it's 33.
33, yeah. And then imagine Crawford was 38.
38, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not focused on Canelo. I got my own stuff going on, but if there might be a way to make that fight happen. So, like I said, I'm not really worried about that. I'm just thinking about the fighters I got to take.
Seeing Crawford beat the opponent he could never face may have been the final proof Benavidez needed. He believed Crawford approached the fight with greater focus, implying that Canelo's ego got in the way and kept him from preparing fully. By stepping away from 168 pounds, Benavidez is shutting the Canelo chapter for good, opting to create a new path instead of staying in a division defined by a matchup that never materialized.
The money that Canelo was making, and I know all these people say, oh yeah, talking shit about Canelo. I'm not talking shit about him. He just didn't look like he really prepared 100%. He's throwing 10 punches around, or I think it was his ego is that big that he thought that, oh, I'm just gonna walk through him, catch him with a good shot, and it's gonna be done. As you can see, Crawford is a different type of fighter. Not only has he had the boxing IQ, he has that dog in him. He was in there. He was brawling. If I'm being honest with you, bro, I'm not happy that he lost. I kind of felt like that could have been me. That was my moment. You know what I mean? If I would have gone in there, I know I would have beat him. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be a hater, but that's kind of how I feel. But you know what I mean? I give all the flowers to Crawford. You know what I mean?
That should have been me in there. That should have been my.
If I would have got that fight.
This firm decision also reflects a deep personal evolution. Benavidez is no longer the impulsive young fighter who grabbed headlines for the wrong reasons. He has openly recognized his past errors and the criticism that once followed him, emerging from those experiences stronger and more focused. He credits much of this growth to a renewed sense of purpose rooted in prayer and meditation. He talks about living a righteous life, not just for his career, but as a devoted father and husband. This maturity has given him a clear vision of his goals. He is motivated by the drive to be the best, to leave a lasting legacy, and refuses to let outside distractions or short-term opportunities divert him from that path. Turning down a fight with Crawford isn't arrogance. It's the calculated decision of a man fully aware of who he is and where he is headed, both inside and outside the ring.
I sparred with Bivol.
And you were younger.
I was 22. From seeing what I did to him in those sparring sessions, I'm very confident I'd win. But I'm not going to, be a fool and just use confidence as 100% fuel. I'm going to go in there and work extremely hard.
You're looking to go up to 175 pounds and potentially get the winner out of Beterbiev and Bivol.
That's why I want to be a part of these big fights too, because as you know, both you guys know, once you get a really good fighter in front of you, the training camp is different. The mentality is different. And when you get in that ring, you shine. That's what I want for myself. I want to be put in them hard positions where you have to use 100% of your skills. And that's why I feel like the best will come out of me. So I'm not scared of it. So whatever it is, even if light heavyweight isn't my final destination, I really want to go up to cruiserweight.
Ooh, so that's cruiserweight, just another, you're a weight class away from going to actual heavyweight.
Yeah. But we're going to move one step at a time. We got light heavyweight. That's a division I've been wanting to go to for a long time.